Hey everybody, it's Nick from Android Headlines, and today we're going to be installing and setting up the Kwikset Kevo Bluetooth enabled smart deadbolt. Alright, we've gone ahead and popped off the top of this box. Let's take a look at what's inside. So as you can see in the package here, they have a couple of different mounting brackets that are going to hopefully fit your door. It's a couple of different sizes and shapes in here, so we'll get a hold of that in just a minute. Comes with a couple of AA batteries. You're going to need the AA batteries to power the Bluetooth component of this Bluetooth enabled deadbolt, which makes a lot of sense. We're going to go ahead and pull out some of the other components here. We've got the actual deadbolt itself, the keys, and of course some other little components in here. You have the lock itself here. Now this is going to come with a wire in here. This is going to connect to the base unit here, which is going to be on the other side of the door, and that's going to enable some different functionality for the Bluetooth component. Of course, you have a little ring to fit in the door properly. Then of course you've got the main unit itself here, which is going to go inside of your house. This particular unit has a silver finish, although it does come in a couple of different colors if you do prefer those for your house. Underneath the packaging here, we're going to find a couple of different manuals. So you have a key fob, which is this thing right here. Then you have your user's guide in both English and Spanish, and the installation guide, which we will have to go over before we go ahead and install this deadbolt. So now that we have that unboxed, let's go ahead and try to install this thing and see how long it takes. All right, so the first thing we got to take a look at here is whether or not your door is chiseled. So mine actually is chiseled. It's got this nice little rectangular chisel here. Some are only going to have the keyhole, so they provide two different options here. This one's called an A and this is a P. That's denoted in the manual itself. So if you're going to be installing the P, you're probably going to need a chisel and some other tools as well. It does detail that in here, but for ease of installation, we're just going to stick with the A since my door is already made this way. You will need a Phillips head screwdriver to do this installation, and the first thing we're going to have to do is flip this over. All right, so the manual actually says you need a Phillips head, but I found this is easy enough to just grab the little bolt and push it out. Then we're just going to take it and we're going to place it in here, as you would expect. And we got the screw holes that line up here, so we'll just go ahead and screw these in. These are going to be screwed in with the two smaller screws that come in the box. They're going to be the sharper wood type screws. Now, as is the case with these kinds of installations, you don't want to use power tools because you can end up stripping the wood, and in that case, you're really not going to have a nice time if you end up doing that. So one of the things you're going to need to do during this installation that's detailed in the manual is make sure you measure the depth and of course the size of the hole in your door. So in this particular case, this includes two screws to screw in the mounting bracket that's going to go on the front and the back of your door. Now obviously the different sizes are going to correlate with the depth of your door, so make sure you go ahead and measure it like it says in the manual and choose one of the two correct screws. The shorter one is silver and the longer one is a gold screw. So some doors are going to have a 54mm hole, while others are only going to have a 38mm hole. That comes with a handy little bracket for those with the 54mm hole, like my particular door has. And that's what you're going to need to be able to put the deadbolt in correctly. The manual says if your door does not need this, you can go ahead and throw it away. Of course, you may not want to do that in case for some reason you have to replace your door or want to move this to a different house down the road, but either way, the next step is going to be just to apply the ring if you do end up needing it. So in fact, since my door does need it, we're going to put it on there, and it just fits in just like so. So the flat part is going to go inward, and you're going to have the raised part going outward from the deadbolt itself. When placing the front of the deadbolt through the door, you're going to want to make sure that the cables actually go underneath the bolt itself here, rather than above it, because it's not going to fit correctly otherwise. Once you get it all situated, this is actually a D-shaped hole here, so you're going to want to rotate it and fit it in the right way in the slot, and then pull it through until it snaps in. When inserting that, of course, you're going to want to make sure that the Kwikset logo is going to be straight instead of, you don't want it crooked or something like that because it's going to be pretty awkward. The internal pieces do rotate a bit, so you do want to make sure that the outside is correctly mounted and it looks flush and it looks good on the door too. The next piece we're going to be working on is the internal part of the door. So on the back here, you'll notice that it has a little sleeve, and it's going to tell you to tuck the cable through here. So you're going to pull the cables through the center here, and you're going to want to tuck it underneath here so as to not pinch the cables or cause any problem points on the lock itself. There's also a little slip of paper that came out the top here that tells you that the lock will not operate properly until you get to step 20 to 22. And currently we're only on step 11, so we're not anywhere near actually getting this thing to work yet. So now for that step about the wires, we're going to go ahead and grab this piece, which comes off of the back of this piece. And we're going to want to hold it so that the flat side again goes inward and the ribbed parts are going to go outward. So these rib parts are going to face inward towards your house at this point. You're going to take these cables and you're going to just put them right through the middle here like so. At this point, you're going to want to take those screws that we had earlier. We set those aside. That's either going to be the silver or the gold ones, depending on the depth of your door. And we're going to want to go ahead and make sure to screw this plate in. So we're going to always make sure to keep this parallel to the door here. You don't want this to be crooked or upside down or whatever. Remember, this is facing up towards the top. The long part is where the top of the thing goes. So you're probably going to want to be holding the deadbolt from the outside as well, just to make sure that this actually fits in there properly. Again, if the unit is not straight on the outside, it's not going to correctly screw into the back of the plate. Once we have those screws in the correct place, we'll go ahead and screw them in. Again, you're going to want to make sure to keep these cables through the middle here and just under this hole, right where the little cable slot is going to go. And then this is going to be nice and flush once it's screwed in. Now at this point, we're going to take this unit apart, so you're going to want to make sure the lever is straight up and down, and then you can go ahead and just pop this one straight off of there. Now this is how you actually access the battery kit, and you're going to be able to pull the battery thing out. Now you're not going to want to install the batteries just yet. We're going to want to wait until the entire unit is actually installed on the door until we do that, but you want to go ahead and set that aside, along with a little cover here so that we don't lose those. So on the back here is where we're going to be connecting these cables. So you have the round cable here, of course, and then the square cable is going to go up in the circuit board here. So we're going to want to pull these cables, not pull them too tight. You don't want to break them or anything like that. And we're going to want to connect them in here. So the easiest one to do first is going to be the round cable, since that one is the longest. This one is just going to snap right in. And then, of course, the top cable is going to go straight on the circuit board. Now it does have a little groove up here, so it's going to tell you that that groove goes up, and if you miss that, it also says up on the sleeve. So make sure you put that the correct direction, or else it may not operate properly. There's no snapping or anything like that. You'll just feel that it's nice and tight in there. It's not going to move, and it should be just right. So what you're going to want to do here, now that we have the cables plugged in, is you're going to actually want to make sure that this small cable routes around the outside of the large cable. Now by default, this is taped on here, so you shouldn't need to do anything unless you've taken this apart before. But it's still worth noting that you need to do that to correctly install it. Now the smaller cable is going to be tucked into the side here, so you want to make sure that you don't crimp any of the wires, but it is out of the way. And then of course this other cable is going to need to go on the right side of the bolt there too. Now when pushing these in, you want to make sure that the cables themselves are inside of the unit and that you're not going to be pinching them. If you look from the top, you'll be able to see the hole and to make sure that the cables are not getting pinched as you push it into the plate. Again, make sure that you don't pinch these cables, because if you do, it's going to cause some serious problems with the Bluetooth functionality of the lock. At this point, you're going to want to grab those two super tiny screws, and they're going to go in these holes here. So you probably want a magnetic screwdriver if you're able to get such a luxury. If not, then hopefully you don't drop them inside of here, because you're probably going to have to take it off. So now that we've screwed it in here, it's nice and snug with the door. And at this point, we're going to be able to install those batteries on the piece that we took out just a couple of steps ago. So there's actually a top and bottom to the battery pack. On the top, you'll note that it says door, and it's going to obviously then push inward towards the door. So you want to insert it like that. So we're just going to insert it from the top here. You're going to want to hold the program button as you insert the batteries. And then once it's in, you can let it go, and it's going to be all set. Of course, you saw the nice red and green light and heard the beeping there. So that's going to denote that it actually worked, and it's now on. You're going to want to press that button one more time. And it's going to do a little test on the lock itself to make sure that it works. So that one is sort of a post-test. If you're familiar with computer terms, it's going to test and make sure that the actual mechanism itself is working. Now at this point, we can go ahead and reinsert that top piece so that it looks good. I'm just going to slide right back on the top there. It's got a little nice magnetic latch on the bottom here. And of course, you're going to want to peel that little factory sticker off, which kept it from getting scratched in the shipping and installation process. At this point, we're going to test and make sure that the actual keys that come with the lock itself work. So we'll want to put them in the deadbolt here, and we'll find that, yep, they do indeed work as a manual lock. Now to set up the Bluetooth functionality. All right, so there are going to be 3 total keys that you can use with this. Of course, you have your regular deadbolt keys here, which we can use on the lock, and you'll see that it works just like a regular deadbolt. The next one we're going to use is a key fob. So this is sort of like a little key fob that you'll find on a car or whatever like that. The first thing you're going to have to do when you take it out of the box is press the little button here to wake it up. Once you press it and hold it, it's going to eventually light up green, and that's going to let you know that it is awake. Now this key fob is already paired with your lock, so you don't have to do anything other than just waking it up. This is going to work the same way as a smartphone would with this particular lock. So all you have to do is grab the key fob, touch it against the lock itself, and it's going to go ahead and either lock or unlock the door depending on which state it's in. So for whatever reason, this particular unit does not seem to be calibrated to the key fob as it is supposed to be, which is denoted by the fact that if I push the fob against it, it'll now light up blue, and now it's supposed to light up green or amber or do something else, but it only ever lights up blue and then will turn off, which means that it doesn't actually establish a connection with the Bluetooth device and therefore can't authorize locking or unlocking the door. Thankfully, if you run into this case, calibration is very easy. So all you got to do is pop the top off, and there's a little calibrate button right here. So you want to press that. Now once you press the calibrate button, you're going to want to hold the fob up to the back of the unit. Now at this point, the light here on the fob should be lighting up amber if it is indeed making a connection with the door. So now you notice that the lights here are lighting up amber, which means it is making a connection, and it's now calibrating this fob to the actual unit itself. Once we have that all done, we can go ahead and replace the battery cover once again. This means that the calibration is finished. And now we need to check the status of the door by going outside and trying the key fob. Make sure, of course, that you bring your physical key with you because you don't want to get locked out of the house. Okay, so as I stepped outside of the door, it actually was green, so we'll go ahead and try the key fob again. And there we go, and now it locked. That's excellent. And now we should be able to press it again, and it should do the unlock feature. Turns amber. And it's going to go ahead and unlock the door. So you're going to want to grab the Kevo app from the Google Play Store, or if you have an iOS device, of course, the Apple App Store. Since we're on an Android device, we're going to go ahead and open this. Now this is an Android 6.0 powered device. So just be sure to keep note of that in case it doesn't work with a certain version of Android. Now from this point, we're going to go ahead and create an account. Once we go ahead and create the account, it's going to go ahead and send an email to you. You just want to go ahead and confirm your email so that we can get the app started. All right, so at this point, we've gone ahead and set up all the security questions and everything else that you need to start your account. We're going to go ahead and add a lock to the system. So we'll go ahead and click the nice little plus icon there and go through Setup Lock. So now it's going to tell you remove the battery cover, go through basically the whole programming thing that you're going to have to do. From here, we'll go through the full setup. So you're going to want to go ahead and pull the back cover off again on that lock. And then you're going to want to press the program button to wake it up. And then press the phone to the back of the key. So now that we've done that, it's going to go ahead and create an E key. Okay, and then now that that worked, it's going to go ahead and ask you, do you have a Kwikset or a Wiser brand? And then you're going to go ahead and name your lock as well. So we'll go ahead and go through that setup. Now that this is done, of course, we can go ahead and again replace that panel since you don't want to leave that unsightly looking back on there. It looks much nicer like this. And then we can go ahead and test out the key. So from here, what's really nice is once you have the key set up on your phone, you don't actually even have to turn the phone on or launch the app. So all you got to do is tap the lock to wake it up. Once it's woken up, you just go ahead and put your phone close to it. And there it goes. It goes ahead and locks it. So now it'll beep twice. It'll give you a little notification LED to let you know that it is locked. And then if you ever want to unlock it, of course, you can just tap it again to wake it up. Put your phone somewhere near it. You don't even have to touch it on the device itself. And there we go. Now it unlocked. My phone even vibrated to let me know that it accepted the key. And it did a little Bluetooth transfer, a beep, and now it's a green lock to let you know it's unlocked. So there's different status lights and that sort of thing. This is super easy to set up. It probably took close to an hour though with setting up the key fob, the key itself, the smartphone, all that stuff. So it is a little bit of a long setup, but it's okay because now that it's all set and done, there's not really a whole lot else I have to do with it. It worked pretty well and I'm pretty impressed with it. So go ahead and look forward to a review here in a couple of weeks as we give it a shot and see how reliable it is, how long the battery life lasts, and that sort of thing. Check us out on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at, we are. Thanks for watching. Until next time.